my name is Mickey, and I got involved with Tapestry almost a year ago, but I initially met Beth years ago when she was still working with Call to Freedom and they attended a ladies' night out at my church. And then last July, she came back and shared her story and her testimony and the work that Tapestry was doing, and I really just knew in my heart that that was something I would love to be involved in, and especially the outreach to the clubs was going to be something that was just perfect. So we had lunch a few weeks later and really hit it off and decided to go from there. So one of my favorite stories from my time spent doing outreach into the clubs with Tapestry was a couple of months ago. And I think it was maybe the second meal I had gone on to the Sioux Falls Club. And we had a young lady who was very interested and spent quite a bit of time visiting with us. And at one point she looked at Beth and I and she said, "Why do you do this?" And she said, "I grew up in the church, and no one in the church that I grew up with would have ever done anything like this. It was all a fashion show and a way to show off for the people in the congregation, and no one would have done anything like this. And I don't know why you're here." And in that moment, you just take a breath and you wait for the Holy Spirit to give you the words because you know that He will. And I was able to look at her and say, because Jesus would have said yes to people like you and to places like this. Because we see in the scriptures that He did say yes to women who needed Him and to places like this. And so it's my heart to say yes where He would say yes. And it's my firm belief that He absolutely says yes to you right now, and so do I. And just, you could see kind of the relief wash over her face, and she smiled and she said, "I think that's a really beautiful concept." And I walked away from that interaction with her and drove home that night, and it reminded me so much of the woman at the well and Jesus' ability to just meet her where she was, and He knew the baggage that she carried with her. And she knew the places that she was most deeply wounded, and He wasn't afraid to sit in that place with her and minister to her where she was, and that was what changed her life. And so I look for those opportunities every month when we do these outreaches to find the places where Jesus is willing to sit with someone where they're most wounded and vulnerable, and look for those opportunities to speak His words in ways that would change their lives. Last month at our club outreach, we got another opportunity to do that with one of the bartenders who is this brilliant, bubbly personality with a $1 million smile. And he's so much fun to be around, but we got to really ask him about his heart and say, "What has been going on in your life lately?" And he shared this really sad story with us about having lost contact with his son at a very young age, and he hadn't seen him in like 19 years. And he wasn't even sure really where his son was or what had become of him. So he went on his way after telling us about that, and there towards the end of the night, I really felt prompted by the Holy Spirit to go and seek him out and just offer him words of encouragement. And so I stopped him and I said, "I just want you to know that God does reconciliation really well, that we serve a reconciling God who loved us enough to offer His own Son for us, and He has not forgotten your son either." And he smiled and he said, "I really genuinely hope so." And I said, "Well, I really genuinely believe so, because that's the God that we love and serve. And I know He has not overlooked your situation or forgotten about you in this hurt." And he shook my hand and he thanked me, and he said, "That really means a lot." He said, "I try to put on a front where I act like this doesn't bother me, but the truth is it really does." And I said, "I know, and God knows." And I was able to just leave him with those words that God is in the midst of that with him. And I think that's really what we look for, and that's the beauty of getting to do this kind of outreach, is just letting people know that God is in it too.